From studios in San Diego, California, this is Mixed Up Sports on MixedUpSports.com, powered by Twitch.tv. Here on this Monday, it is the 11th day of 2016. My name is Frank Marchese, Cruiser Ryan to my left, Nick Six to my right. Boys, how you doing today?
Doing good.
Doing great.
An interesting wild card week has ended in the NFL, and I was planning to start the show off with a rant over what happened in the Cincinnati Pitt game. But we will begin today with the Minnesota Miss. And, of course, if to anyone who has seen um, Ace Ventura, you know it's laces out, laces out, laces out. 27-yard chip shot. I'm sorry, I cannot blame that one on the laces.
It, it's I feel bad for the guy. He went the whole day, making field goals for this team, being the only guy to have any production in any kind of scoring, statistic for the Vikings, and he missed one, the most crucial point or the most crucial 3 points in their season, and it's a heartbreaking loss for Vikings, but there's got to be a winner in every game.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to for it to come down to that, especially like you said, Crucial with him scoring every single point for the Vikings. Yet everyone only remembers the missed field goal. Granted, it was a chip shot, and there's no excuses. But I mean, you gotta cut the guy some slack here. He made, he if he didn't if he didn't play as well as he did, if he missed more than one, they wouldn't even have been in that situation to win the game because they wouldn't have had any points without him. So I it's easy to call him, the guy who lost the game for him, and that he's the reason that they're not in the divisional round. But without him, you wouldn't even have been close.
And this is the guy who, when you saw that play get set up, I'm thinking, okay, he's running to the left. Okay, they must be trying to score. This is the guy who every single extra point he made this season, he had it set up on the right hash. Now he's got it set up on the left hash. He's got a little bit of wind, and of course, we know the laces hold. But like I said, the laces hold really to me it doesn't matter at all because from 27 yards, all that ball has a chance to do is go up. I really and I haven't kicked. I haven't gone out on a kick with the laces in from 27, so I'm not entirely sure. But when you give the guy the wrong side of the field to kick from that he's used to, I'm telling you, he just booted it. That's really from what I see. He just booted it. The laces had nothing to do with it. If he got a little bit of gust of wind, well, that stinks. But the fact that the team set him up on the wrong side of the field from what he usually kicks on, to me, is surprising. That offensive play call sort of played against Walsh in that spot.
It yeah, like you had stated, like and it was on the wrong side of the hash, obviously. I was listening to a Vikings game a couple weeks ago, and even the announcers or broadcasters are even stating it that he prefers that right hash because it's easier for him just to curve it more towards the middle than to have it at an angle like he did that game where it just should have been an easy kick. But the fact that his team had set it up like that, yeah, blame the kicker because that's what he gets paid to do. He gets paid the big bucks to make these field goals. But at the same time, placement and offensive play calling could have been a lot better. Granted, it was a good game. Let's not take anything away from that. Both teams played great with the weather that was going on. The fact that it was, I want to say it was in the top four, top five in the coldest games in history. It was a tough fight. It just sucks that it went down that way, especially for Blair Walsh.
Yeah, I mean, while watching that game, there was one cliche that was being thrown out where you can't practice a 3-foot putt to win the Masters, and you cannot practice even if it's a chip shot field goal to win a playoff game because the pressure there is so immense. There's no way to practice that. You can't practice kicking a field goal under pressure, and granted, like we've mentioned before, that's his one job that he needs to kick the field goals, but under all that pressure, it's it's a tough it's a tough job to go out there and do, especially after making 3 field goals already.
I understand the pressure, but I mean, this was a team that, let's be honest, this was a team that we gave no chance. We had them dead to rights after they beat Green Bay. We gave them zero chance to even be in this game. And the fact that we're talking about them missing a field goal to possibly have won the game, I think is just a miracle. But we go to the big game this week, which was Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. I'll tell you what, the momentum completely shifted when when Roethlisberger got knocked out of that game. When he got knocked out of the game, momentum completely turned Cincinnati's way. They had a couple of great drives, and then that last drive, the second McCarron threw that touchdown pass to put them up 16-15. I was on NFL.com buying an AJ McCarron jersey. I'm somewhat glad that I stopped myself from actually doing it. But then you missed the 2 point, which they had to go for the 2 points there. There's no other option. You have to go for the 2 points in that spot. Then the first play from scrimmage, you get an interception. You're in field goal range. Game over. Until Jeremy Hill decides, you know what? I don't want this ball anymore. Here, you guys take it.
I mean, that if you're a Bengals fan, you just have to think that your team's cursed because I mean, like you mentioned, they had it in the bag with the interception in field goal range, and I mean, granted that you want to blame Jeremy Hill, but that's what you're supposed to do on defense. But it was a great strip from Ryan Shazier, who played unbelievably that game, and that I think that the Steelers obviously they got lucky, but to put in Landry Jones when you have Ben Roethlisberger available, to put in Landry Jones to attempt that game-winning drive instead of one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think that Mike Tomlin, if that fumble didn't happen and it just ended with Cincinnati getting a first down and kneeling it out, Mike Tomlin would have been.
For his though, he's playing with a separated shoulder on that last drive though.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd take if he's good enough to play because he was available to play after he came back. So if he's good to go, I'd take even a hurt Ben Roethlisberger over Landry Jones in that situation just because of the pressure there.
Last week you guys had already great two of us, Nick and I had went for Steelers, and Frankie, you had went for the rookie winning it and then upset with the Bengals. And
almost paid off, and then all the veterans screwed them.
yeah, yeah, essentially. But back to last, you guys had stated that you guys, if they Bengals would not have win this game, you guys said fire Marvin Lewis. Now I'm gonna, you guys can have your opinions or whatever. I don't believe that it was his fault this week. Like you just had stated, the veterans were the reason why they lost this game. Jeremy Hill with the fumble, defensive players just not playing smart or being too, I hate dirty. Dirty is the word that comes to mind with what had gone down. You can't tell me that it was his fault. Granted, he should have had more control over his players and had, a better understanding of the situation at hand with a playoff game, win or go home. And like you had said, Nick, that this team might be cursed, but I'm not going to put, you have to put some blame on him, but I'm not going to fire him still. He's still a great coach. He still has brought to this team what hasn't been there. It just came down to your players need to know when to act a certain way, and clearly they did not know that.
I can't blame this loss on Marvin Lewis. This was a Cincinnati loss. This was a team loss. And how about this? What, you have 2 third downs, and I believe you had a 4th down on that last drive. How about you try stopping them? Because I know one was a 3rd and 7. How about you try stopping them? Because the game's over then. Stop them on 3rd and 7. You get them 4th and long. They got to run some wacko, stupid play. it's you just stop him. Then you have Burfict, who's headhunting. That's all it was. Headhunting Antonio Brown. And then you have Pac-Man Jones coming out earlier today and saying that Brown was faking it while he was on the field. The personal foul on Burfict was 100% warranted. Then you have Joey Porter, one of the coaches for Pittsburgh. He's out there screaming at Pac-Man Jones, and that's why Pac-Man Jones gets his personal foul, because he ended up bumping the referee because he was going to yell at Joey Porter. It was a complete and utter mess, that whole situation. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete implosion on that last drive. And to get back to what you were talking about with Marvin Lewis, after this loss, I don't think he should be fired, but if the Bengals end up firing him, one reason I can see why they might is because he wasn't able to get Vontaze Burfict or Pac-Man Jones under control. And knowing that this is a rivalry playoff game, the tensions are high, you gotta, in my opinion, you have to control your players more than what Marvin Lewis did there, because emotions took over and it just seemed like Marvin Lewis didn't have any control whatsoever over at least those two players, and possibly more. And for Pac-Man Jones to come out and say that Antonio Brown was faking it, like you said, that's just ridiculous. Vontaze Burfict came and hit him, it was headhunting, and it was a dirty hit. And given what transpired on that game, I think he should have been ejected for that. I mean, that was a dirty hit. He was clearly going for his head. Antonio Brown already dropped the ball. It bounced off his fingertips. And with the tensions that were there and the emotions, I think that Vontaze Burfict should have been ejected for that.
The one thing that bothers me with this game more than anything is the fact that we're taking away from a dirty play and an ending that, basically was defense giving them the game. We took away from the game in general how it was a good and competitive game. The rookie almost pulled it off. The fact that you had these two rival teams going at it in a playoff game where you have Martavis Bryant with an unbelievable catch in that game. You had, a rookie from Alabama making his playoff starts, first place stop ever. And you had Ben Roethlisberger getting hurt and having Landry Jones having to come on to eventually go back off and have Big Ben come in. It was a game in which it was so competitive, it was enjoyable to watch up until the last drive due to the defense. But that's what irritates me the most, is that we're taking away from a good game one section that people are scratching their heads going, is this really the integrity that these players have, or is that they want to take each other out because over a game? It's not as bad as a couple weeks ago when we had Odell doing this, but it's still along the same lines that these players are out to get one another. Granted, emotions were high, stakes were high, but still, learn to control yourself. You are professional, being paid the money. Keep yourself in check, dude. Come on.
I mean, in this game, the whole game was rough and chippy, and Marvin Lewis actually came all this determine whether or not you guys want to buy her. Lewis came out and said about the hit, I don't think it's over the line. It's part of what football is now, and you have to learn to play within the scope of what football is right now. That is an embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, if for him, I feel like he's more defending his players than anything with that quote, because there's no place for someone to obviously target the helmet of another football player. And if that's how Marvin Lewis views football should be, then he doesn't understand the class that comes with football, because that is not, granted it's a contact sport, but that is going completely over the line of trying to knock the ball out. You don't knock the ball out by hitting him in the helmet with your shoulder pads. That's not what you do. That's just purely going and headhunting and trying to take out the player.
If you want to talk about playing within the way that football is being played, there have been rules set up to not allow this to happen. So obviously it's not meant to be in the game of football. there has been rules and regulations and now fines on top of it to go along with all this to basically say this is not how we're supposed to be playing. And he wants to sit here and defend his players, saying that that's how you play football. How about he puts on some pads and he takes a hit like that? Then I guarantee he won't be saying that. It's You need to learn to discipline, and if that's what he wants to say, well, now he's the one going home while Pittsburgh's going to the next round of the playoffs. While he's sitting there wondering, what do I have to do for next year because I'm not going anywhere this year? If he wants to sit there and defend a dirty play, then I'm losing respect for him. That's not called for in any means necessary.
Last point about this game, though, I was just looking at the highlights again right now. That catch by Bryant, that touchdown catch by Bryant, was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that play at first, I didn't know what happened. All I saw was him flip into the end zone. I saw him catch it at first and flip into the end zone. What happened between there? I had to, I couldn't believe what happened when I saw the replay, because for him to somehow pin that ball against his leg and somehow keep possession and keep control of the ball as he's inverting his body, I mean, it was ridiculous. Now, some people have said that this would rival Odell Beckham's catch. Would I would be the first to say that that's not even wasn't even close to Odell Beckham's catch, because Odell, that was just a freakish catch. But
I'd
this
say it
one,
was close, especially with the kind of game it is. That was just a regular season game. This is a playoff game.
well, yeah, but I mean, with Odell Beckham Jr. with his catch with pass interference also on the play and him just grabbing with one hand, nothing else. I'll I'll change to it was the closest play. It was the closest amazing catch to the Odell Beckham. It was the closest to that, but I don't think that it should even be in the conversation at that point.
These guys are athletes, and it just shows that each and every week they pull out more that we're not expecting to seeing. They're pulling out with these catches that are like, is he human? Can he be doing this? You have to go by frame to see exactly what happened. And thank the Lord for the cameraman on the side who were able to catch it to see how it happened, because I was just as stunned as the next person. It's ridiculous that these athletes are doing freakish moves that are keeping us wanting more and more and more. Back with the whole Odell thing, I still think Odell's catch blows anyone out of the water, and I think it will stand that way for a while. However, with that being said, Martavis Bryant, what a catch. And that was, if we could see more out of each and every, game going forward, hey, I'm just excited as the next person.
The chippy game. I mean, it's a game that we can talk about all night long. It's a game we can talk about until we're blue in the face, but we do have to take a break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the other two. Plus, forgotten in all this is the national title game for college football is on tonight. We'll be back.